The best training shoe for sprinters are the Fuel Cell Propel V4 by New Balance, which is an underrated training shoe in my opinion. Don't mind my dirty shoe because I've been using it for training, but this is what it looks like. It is red and white. It's around 10.7 ounces per shoe. My size is a 9.5, so this is what it looks like when it's a 9.5. It's a nice looking shoe. It's very stiff when needed, and it's got a lot of endurance in it. Like, I've been wearing this for pretty much all of indoor and a little bit of the fall, and it still has a good amount of tread. Maybe because we didn't do a lot of hills that the tread is still there, but there's no holes in the toes yet. I know on my other shoe there's like a hole here, and that's because I put this in the same bag with my spikes, and that spikes kind of made a hole on the side of my shoe. So as you can see, this shoe has a lot of cushion, has something called a TPU plate, which is supposed to help you propel forward. And whenever you're running with this, you honestly feel like you're on clouds. You feel very bouncy, kind of like a Maxfly in a way. But if you use the SDX, then it's kind of the same feeling, but this has a lot more cushion and it's definitely more comfortable than spikes itself. Of course, I'm not trying to recommend you to wear this instead of spikes, but these are just really good training shoes, especially if you have to go at a higher speed. Even if you have to warm up or do tempo work, these shoes work very well with that. And I know some people have different shoes for the warm-up or even tempo days, but I say this is a good versatile shoe. And look, I know there's a lot of other training shoes out there, cheaper ones, more expensive ones, different brands. I just know there's a ton of these shoes, so I decided to pick one that looks good, feels good, and something that I know my money will be a good investment in. Because I know for other training shoes, you put a lot of money in it, but then it just wears down more quicker and doesn't last you throughout at least 2 seasons, and you have to replace it in the summer or into the fall. Which is why I like these shoes, because they have a lot of beading. As you can see, there's a bunch of what they call like crevices or a lot of creases. That's the word I'm looking for in this shoe. So you know it's worn a lot. But I kept the condition pretty good because I've only worn it when I train. I know some people like to wear their training shoes whenever they go on a walk or whatever, but doing so would lessen the life of your shoes because the treads would get worn out, your shoe will get more dirtier, and you have a higher potential of putting a hole into your shoe. Probably have seen me wear the Nike blue trainers. Those ones were okay, like they weren't as good as these New Balance shoes because there wasn't enough cushion in the Nike shoes, and my feet started to hurt a lot, especially on faster days or a longer tempo day, and my feet get easily bruised. So having a very good cushion shoe like the New Balance helps me be strong, prevent injuries, and also be comfortable with the tempos. Since we're talking about New Balance, I'll update you on my opinion on the SDX spikes. For this season, at least for indoor, I've pretty much worn them for every meet except for one of the 200s I did last weekend. They're still in great shape. I did not put a hole in the toe box yet, but there's definitely a little bit of abrasions on the side. I can show you. As you can see here, I tore this a little bit, and that's probably from me kind of accidentally dragging my toes a little bit, and that just damaged the side of this plate. But I don't think this plate really is affected by it because it's just the side. You don't see any cracks through it, so that's the good part. It just looks a lot more worn down. Looks like someone took a bite out of the side of this, but like everything still works fine. There's no cracks in the plate. There's a lot of creases in here, but this still propels you really well. And the shoelaces and this part of the shoe still works fine. And also, if you look closely with these spikes, they're still pretty sharp. Even though I wore them for like 2 seasons, they're still pretty sharp. They're pretty good. So their durability is very good. And if you haven't watched what I said in my previous video on these spikes, these are very bouncy when you wear them. So that's why I kind of relate it to my trainers, because my trainers, you also feel that fuel cell foam. I think that's what's called, or fresh foam. And you feel bouncy, your feet are more cushioned, and you don't feel like you're going to get a bruise on your foot. But overall, I still love this shoe because especially during indoor meets, you know, when it's really cold outside or even cold inside, the track is very hard and when you run on it with like barefoot, or even when you run with your trainers that don't have as much cushion as my shoes, you can feel the track, and it kind of hurts a little more than it should. So that's why I like my trainers right now, because they have a lot of cushion. So when you ever do your warm-up jog on a hard track, it's not a big deal. And with the Superflies, they don't have cushion like these New Balance SDX spikes. So that's why I like this better on harder tracks as well. Because with the Superflies, since they don't have that cushion when you're just pounding your feet on the ground when you're running, that takes a big toll on your feet. And honestly, I think I still have like a little bit of bruising in my feet from using the Superflies. So that's not a great idea to use Superflies on a hard track unless you got really durable feet. On hard tracks or even soft tracks, these spikes work very well. But if you haven't heard my opinion on the Superflies, then click this video right here.